A few years ago, Tom came into my clinic. He was 58, loved hill walking, and had been told he'd need a knee replacement within 5 to 10 years. He was devastated. He thought his hiking days were over. Fast forward 2 years, and Tom is back on the trails, pain-free, and stronger than he's been in a decade. No surgery, no replacement. So what's changed? Well, he understood something most people don't know about knee pain. And today I'm going to share with you what Tom learned and what the research actually says about avoiding a knee replacement. Because most of us have way more control over this than we think. Hi, I'm Kieran and I've been helping people overcome pain for over a decade. I also wrote a book called Pain and the Survival Brain because I seen the same patterns in my clinic every day. People were terrified about their own bodies because nobody had explained to them what was actually happening. And knee replacements are one of the biggest fears I see in my clinic. People think it's inevitable that once your knees start hurting, it's only a countdown to surgery. But the research tells a different story. In this video, I'll walk you through what a knee replacement is, why they're becoming so common, and most importantly, the practical research-backed things you can do to massively reduce the chances of ever needing one. And genetics plays a role, but your lifestyle plays a much bigger role. So let's dive in. So let's talk about what we're actually trying to avoid here. A knee replacement, technically called a knee arthroplasty, is a procedure where surgeons remove damaged surfaces of your thigh bone and shin bone and they cap them with metal and polyethylene components. Basically, they're creating a smooth artificial surface so your knee can move without pain. Now, the reason this becomes necessary is because the cartilage in your knee has worn down to the point of where the bone is rubbing on the bone. And here's the critical thing to understand. Once the cartilage is gone, you cannot regrow it. You cannot exercise it back. You cannot supplement it back. It's gone. That's why injury prevention is so important. Because if we can maintain the health of the cartilage, if we can keep it nourished and resilient, we can avoid ever getting to the point of where surgery is the only option. And that brings me to the first question. Why are knee replacements becoming so common? The numbers are shocking. The US performs around 790,000 knee replacements every single year. And by 2030, that hits 1.28 million annually. That's a 189% increase. And these figures are similar across most Western countries. And here's what surprised me. The fastest rising group isn't people in their 70s and 80s. It's adults between 45 and 64. People in the prime of their lives. So what's driving this? Well, we're living longer, which is great. So our joints have to last longer. We're heavier as a population and weight has a massive effect on knees. We'll talk about more of this in a minute. We're seeing more serious knee injuries, especially ACLs and meniscus tears in younger adults, and those early injuries lead to arthritis decades later. But the good news is most of these factors are within our control. And I hear this all the time. Kieran, my mum had bad knees, or my dad had bad knees. I'm doomed, aren't I? Genetics absolutely matters, and research shows that 40 to 65% of knee osteoarthritis risk is inherited. But genetics is not destiny. A major study in the UK found that people with higher genetic risk had no increased incidence of osteoarthritis if they maintained strong, healthy habits, healthy weight, regular activity, and good diet. In those with the best lifestyles, osteoarthritis risk was cut in half, regardless of genetics. Let me say that again. Cut in half. This is epigenetics. You cannot change your genes, but you can definitely change how they're expressed. Your habits and choices send signals to your DNA that determine which genes get turned on or turned off. So yes, if your parents had knee problems, pay attention, but you are not doomed. You have enormous control here. The next part is probably the most important thing I'm going to say in this video. You've probably heard the phrase wear and tear when it comes to your knees. Maybe your doctor said it to you or you read it online. And it makes sense on the surface, right? Use something a lot, it wears down. But that phrase makes people believe that movement destroys joints. It encourages fear and inactivity. And the research shows the exact opposite. Your cartilage isn't like tires on a car. It doesn't passively wear down with use. Cartilage is living tissue that needs movement to stay healthy. It doesn't have a direct blood supply, so it gets nutrients through compression and decompression. When you move and load your knees, it squeezes fluid and oxygen out. When you unload it, fresh fluid and oxygen gets drawn back in. That fluid carries nutrients that keeps your cartilage springy and healthy. Movement also stimulates anti-inflammatory chemicals, and immobilization causes cartilage to thin and muscles to weaken. So movement strengthens your knees and it increases tissue tolerance. It makes your knees more resilient, not damaged. And here's the kicker. A large study found people with low activity and high sitting time had a 52% increased risk of developing knee osteoarthritis. So not using your knee is more dangerous than using it. Your knees need movement. They were designed for it. Okay, so let me take this one step further. Humans have evolved to squat deeply, to kneel, and to move through full knee flexion. But we invented chairs, and chairs changed everything. From childhood, we stopped squatting. We rarely bend our knees past 90 degrees. We sit in the same position for hours, and our tissues stiffen. Our joint surfaces don't get nourishment, we lose range of motion, and the joints adapt to the ranges you use. If you avoid deep bending, your body thinks, well, I don't need that range anymore, so I'm not going to use resources on something I don't use. You become less capable of using that range, and this is partly why people struggle to squat later in life. Not because their knees are broken, but because they stopped using that range decades ago. When you lose range of motion, you lose options, you start compensating, you put more stress on certain parts of the joint, and that accelerates wear. So one of the simplest things you can do is use the full ranges you have. Squat to whatever depth you can manage. Sit on the floor sometimes, kneel when it's comfortable. Remind your body that your knees are capable of more than walking and sitting. Past injuries are one of the strongest predictors of needing a knee replacement. If you tore an ACL or had significant meniscus injury, your risk of post-traumatic osteoarthritis goes way up. And studies shows that 25 to 50% of people with those injuries develop osteoarthritis later in life. If you injure both ACL and meniscus, that jumps to 69%. So what's the key takeaway here? Injury prevention is huge, especially if you're active, especially if you're over 40. Warm up properly, strengthen your legs and your hips, and improve your balance and control. Prepare your body for your environment. If you play football, build strength for football movements. If you run, do running specific strength and conditioning. And if you get injured, full rehabilitation is critical. Don't rush back and don't skip the boring strength work. How you recover today will determine how your knees function for the next 20, 30 or 40 years. Okay, this section is a bit uncomfortable, but the research is so clear we need to talk about it. Extra body weight affects your knees in two ways. First, there's the mechanical load. When you walk, you generate 2 to 3 times your body weight in force through each knee. Going up the stairs, that jumps to 3 times. Going down the stairs, it's as high as 3.5 times. Deep squatting can reach 5 to 6 times. So every extra 10 pounds means 20 to 30 pounds of pressure with each step, and potentially 50 to 60 pounds with a deep squat. And it all adds up fast. Second, fat tissue releases inflammatory cytokines, chemicals that damage cartilage. And this has a systemic effect. It's not just about the weight pressing down. Even people with obesity develop arthritis in their hands, which are non-weight-bearing joints. That tells us it's inflammation and not mechanical load. The good news is weight loss dramatically reduces risk. The Framingham study found that just losing 11 pounds reduced women's risk of knee osteoarthritis by 50%. A 5% body weight reduction if you weigh 200 pounds, that's just 10 pounds, slows cartilage degeneration on an MRI. Among all the prevention strategies, weight management has the highest impact. I know it's hard, I know there's genetic factors, hormonal factors, stress factors, mental health, and it's a complex issue. But if you can lose even a modest amount and keep it off, you protect your knees more than any other single thing. Okay, so we've covered the science. Now let's talk about what you can actually do. But before I get into specifics, this advice is for people who are either pain-free and want to stay that way, or just has some slight discomfort, maybe some stiffness after sitting or achiness after a long walk. If you're dealing with significant pain, inflammation, limited range issues, or you're genuinely afraid to move your knee, if you don't trust your body right now, speak with a professional. For those of you who are ready to take action, here's what works. Walking is one of the best things you can do. It's low impact, keeps your joints moving, maintains cartilage health, and helps with fitness. Set a minimum step count. Start with 5,000 steps if you live a sedentary life. Work up to 8,000 or 10,000. Break it into chunks. A 10-minute walk after each meal gets you most of the way there. Next is my favorite. Stronger muscles offload the joint. It'll strengthen your quads, glutes, hamstrings, and calves. For beginners, pick 2 days a week, let's say Tuesday and Friday, and do this at home. Bodyweight squats, 3 sets of 10. Lunges, 3 sets of 8 per leg. Glute bridges, 3 sets of 12. And calf raises, 3 sets of 15 on each leg. That's 20 minutes twice a week. Or better yet, just go to a fitness class. Treat it like an appointment you can't miss. Next is severely underutilized. Remember chair culture. We need to remind our knees they're capable of more. Once a day, practice deep squatting. If you can't do a full squat, hold on to something sturdy and lower as far as comfortable for 20 to 30 seconds every single day. Maybe while you're waiting for a kettle to boil, or maybe while you're watching TV. Just do it. If you can't squat at all, start on a low stool and gradually work lower. Balance and stability are critical for injury. If your knee wobbles landing from jump or stepping off a curb, that instability increases ligament tear risk. Standing on one leg while brushing your teeth, just 2 minutes twice a day. If it's too easy, then close your eyes. If it's too hard, just put one finger on the counter, and that's your stability work done right there. If you sit for work, prolonged immobility is killing your knees. Your cartilage isn't getting the compression and decompression it requires. So set a timer for every few hours. When it goes off, stand up for 2 minutes. 5 squats, 5 lunges per leg, and 30 seconds of marching. And that's it. This keeps your knees lubricated and prevents stiffness. Weight multiplies knee force. Every pound adds about 4 pounds of pressure through your joint. Losing 5 to 10 pounds makes a real difference. You don't have to be perfect. Start with activity first and build up the walking habits. Do the strength work. Then, if needed, focus on one small dietary change. Cut out sugary drinks. Add more vegetables to each meal. Small, consistent changes add up. Just aim for progress. One of the biggest mistakes people do is doing too much too soon. Going from a sedentary life to running 5 miles a day, knees can't handle the sudden increase in load. And injury is the failure to adapt to stress. Use the 10% rule. Never increase activity to more than 10%. If you've walked 10,000 steps this week, aim for 11,000 steps next week. If you've ran 5 miles, run 5.5 miles or 6 miles next week. You cannot change your age and you cannot change cartilage loss, but you have enormous control over whether your knees ever reach the point of needing a replacement. Injury prevention today prevents arthritis tomorrow. Your lifestyle can override genetic risk. Many people in their 70s and 80s avoid needing a knee replacement entirely because they stayed active, controlled their weight, and treated small problems before they became big. Your knees are living tissue. They adapt to how you use them. Invest in them now and they carry you pain-free for decades. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I'll be making videos every week on pain, movement, and building a resilient body. Thanks for watching, and I'll get you in the next one.